Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. My name is 3-Chord Dave, and today I'm going to tell you why you should not buy Relic'd guitars. Instead, you can afford a vintage one. Yes guys, so lately we have been talking about Relic'd guitars an awful lot. Of course, Gibson came out with the Murphy Lab Aged Guitars series, which costs anything from about $6,000 up to well over 10, to be quite honest with you. So they're an expensive option. And then just last week we had Heritage Guitars come out with their Artisan Aged models, which of their H150 guitars, basically a Les Paul, and they're lightly aged and so on. They have different options there as well. And I did show you that the Chinese replica knockoff makers are now getting into the Relic'd game as well. There's lots of options. Now, listen, I think probably all of us have a different opinion about Relic'd guitars. Up until at one point last year, didn't see the point, but I made a video where people told me this is why I like Relic'd guitars, and actually my head has been turned. I genuinely want to try out some Relic'd guitars now, and I'm sure I will buy one in the future, or maybe not, because here's an idea I had, and I'm going to show you some guitars today that I think actually work a lot better for both your wallet and are actually properly Relic'd because they're old. So let's take a look at some of these guitars and see what you think. So guys, the first one is actually a rare model because it's something very unusual. This is a 1984 Fender Flame Elite. Yeah, I bet you never heard of that before. Unless, of course, you watched my channel from about a year ago when I was just getting started here on YouTube, where I did do a piece exclusively about this guitar, where, basically I took a look at what what Fender were doing when they tried to copy Gibson with this model. And that's essentially what they did. In fact, they were very unashamedly going after the Gibson market and saying that they wanted to offer a high quality alternative to Gibson guitars. And pretty much they did a good job. So they got these specially designed Schaller pickups in here, which look pretty cool. You've got the tailpiece that has the fine tuners in it, an awesome touch. You do have the three on the side on the headboard, or on the headstock as well, for the tuners. This has coil tapping in it as well. A really cool guitar. This was made, as I said, 1984. It comes in a hard shell case. It looks beautiful, and it's a genuinely vintage guitar. It's 38 years old, and that is what you can pick up for somewhere around 1,500 euros. So that's less than $2,000, guys. That is a great price for, again, nearly 40-year-old guitar. That's going to show aging and relicing that you can't fake. Now, the second guitar is only on the list because it is exactly the same age as I am, by a couple of months, maybe a little bit younger, but we won't go into that. So the guitar was made in 1982. It is a Gibson Sun X 180. Yeah, I know, whatever. It's not the greatest guitar they ever made. However, this is coming in at just about 1,100 euros, and that is a phenomenal deal for a almost 40-year-old guitar. Let's just say 39-year-old guitar, okay? It's a candy apple red. It just says that it's in good condition. Comes in a chainsaw case. Now that chainsaw case is where the value is really here, because that case alone is worth almost 300 euros by itself. This is the brown inside interior version, and it appears to be in very good condition. In fact, they do make reference that even all the latches on the case candy compartment are still working, which is where these ones fail. But these were some of the best guitar cases ever made, about 300 euros worth on the price. So you're paying about 800 for the guitar. It is a bolt-on neck, which looks like a really bad bolt-on neck. I've never had one of these in my hands because they look terrible as a guitar, but you never know. I mean, some people actually really love these guitars, and it's a guitar that is exactly the same age as I am. So it's on the list. But just goes to show you, vintage guitar, just like a vintage 3-Chord Dave, is not as expensive as you think it might be. So stepping up a little bit, and again we're looking at a Gibson, but this time it's a Gibson Les Paul, and it's from 1975. So yeah, people have told me, oh, I can't afford a 70s guitar, they're too expensive because like they're vintage. Listen to me, you can afford this guitar if you can afford a Relic'd guitar, that's for sure. This is coming in just over €2,500. It's a Gibson Les Paul Deluxe P90s. Yeah, actual Gibson P90s in a 1975 Les Paul Deluxe, and it's going for just over 2,500. €1,000, which I think is a phenomenal deal. It's got, as you can see, some really good, honest wear on it, particularly the neck. This has been a loved and played guitar. You've got a volute on the back. You've got Clousson style Gibson Deluxe tuners. The little plaque at the top of the headstock, which would have had like a serial number or something like that, it appears to be gone, but there is hard shell case comes with this. Not an original one. It does appear to be more modern than the guitar, but you know, again, that could be wrong as well. Like, actually could be the original one, but it doesn't look like it is to me. But there's a great example. I mean, if you were going to buy an aged guitar like this one, you'd probably be paying a minimum of $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000. So it's a lot less expensive and much more achievable to people. In fact, if you're thinking of buying a Gibson Les Paul Standard, this is an option instead. So I think it's a better option at the moment, to be honest. But we don't just want to talk about Gibson guitars and things that look like Gibson guitars. So here's a Fender Strat. Now, this is a very cool model as well. Lots of these on Reverb for various prices, but I decided to go with this one because it looks to be in the best condition of all of the ones that were on there. This is a 1979 Fender Stratocaster 25th anniversary model. Now, you might be asking, but hey, wait a minute, aren't Fender currently celebrating their 75th anniversary? And yes, indeed they are, and they have a couple of models for that at the moment out. But this is actually specifically celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Stratocaster, which was born in 1954. So you would think this is a really cool model that is, you know, very expensive, but it's actually €2,500. Now, again, this is top of the market because this is a very, very clean example. It's something that they're saying is, you know, one of the best examples that they have seen in terms of cleanliness. It's very much been a case queen and been very well looked after. All original, including the hard shell case, which is a phenomenal thing to have from 1979 all the way back there. So that's what, maths, 42 years old of a guitar for €2,500. And again, that's probably the top of the market. There are other versions on Reverb there that are a little bit less expensive as well. So don't tell me you can't afford a vintage guitar that's over 40 years old, and that counts as vintage, which again means that I'm vintage. And finally, guys, let's talk about one more guitar. And again, let's just step away from Gibson and Fender for a moment. And a guitar that I think is absolutely beautiful, and it's from the 60s. So don't tell me that vintage guitars are unobtainable. You know who you are, telling me stuff like that. So this is a 1967 Gretsch Chet Atkins Country Gentleman. Now, you don't have to be a gentleman to play this guitar, but it does help. Essentially, this is a walnut version of that guitar. It's got the original hard shell case. It's in beautiful, beautiful condition. And this particular one is €3,400. Now, there are cheaper versions on Reverb as well. Again, I went with the top of the market. So guys, as you can see, with all 5 of these guitars, there are many vintage options which actually are in reach of most of us. Obviously, we might have to save up for a while, or, you know, crash a credit card or something like that. But it is possible to buy genuinely vintage guitars that have been played for 40, 50, maybe even 60 years and still have, you know, not have to mortgage your house and stuff like that. So I thought I would bring this to your attention because a lot of people have said to me that they could never afford a birth year guitar because they were born in the 50s or the 60s. There are even lots of 50s guitars that come in around the $2,000 mark. So guys, it's not unobtainable. It's not impossible that we could all be playing vintage guitars instead of Relic'd ones. And that is just how it is. Of course, probably no warranty left on these ones though. So, you know. But that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed taking a look at these guitars. I will pop a link to Reverb in the description below there. It is an affiliate link just for full disclosure, but, you know, don't feel any pressure. If you're going to buy something, you're going to buy one of these guitars, would help out the channel if you click on it. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for joining me. I will be back with you again on Saturday. And until then, take care.